So hello everybody, it's Dave here from Race to Freedom, and I just thought I'd make a short video today about all the mistakes that I made when I first started running. So you kind of might recognize yourself in some of these, so you maybe not. But I first started running really in my mid-20s, which is quite late I guess. And when I first started running, I was in a very bad state, physically and mentally. So I weighed about 40 kilos. I was just literally flesh and bones, and what there wasn't very strong either. I was a heavy drinker, heavy smoker. My idea of nutrition was a six-pack of Mars bars and a few pints. But this is how I began running. And so what did I do? Well, first of all, I had no idea really about training, and I don't think many people did in those days. We're looking 30 odd years ago now, 40 years ago nearly, and there was very little known about distance running really. It was the beginning of the running boom in America, and it just started to take hold in the UK. And the prevailing wisdom then was that you should just do lots and lots of running basically, and the more miles you ran, the better you would become. And to some extent that was probably true, but there's lots of other parts to it that I know now that I never knew then. So when I started running, I'd never done any running before apart from at school. When we used to be forced out to do cross-country runs around the hills of Bath in brutally cold weather, in t-shirt, or rather in vests and shorts and old-fashioned plimsolls. And needless to say, none of us ever really enjoyed doing those, and I wasn't very good at it, frequently walking most of the way. My preference was always for ball games. So I played a lot of football and cricket, tennis I enjoyed. I never imagined that I would be any good at running other than very short distances, maybe. So I was quick off the mark, but I had no stamina or endurance. But I started walking, and it made me feel better. And then I don't know how or why or when exactly, but the walking became jogging, and the jogging became running. And then I entered one or two local fun runs because I felt a lot better for going out to run, but I had no idea how to train. I just used to go and run out as fast as I could every day of the week pretty much, and never allowed any time for recovery. There was no proper nutrition. Nobody even recognised that nutrition was an element in those days. It was just do more running and you get better. And actually, to be fair, that's what I did. It's like anything, the more you do, the better you get at it. But I highly recommend that to people now, especially if they're starting. I mean, I was in my mid-20s then, I guess, but many people starting now, starting in the 40s, 50s, 60s even. Oh, some guns going off in the background. Luckily enough, I never got injured actually, but there was no method to my training at all. I just used to go out and run every day of the week because it made me feel better, and then I used to race, so local fun runs. And then I started doing quite well in these simply because I was running regularly, I think. And I was very well motivated because I knew it made me feel better and I was getting faster all the time. And at first, as you know, when you start running, you get faster just by running regularly. As you start to build endurance and racing regularly, started to build more speed endurance, I guess, more than anything. So I did everything from 5Ks to half marathons really. I didn't like to go any further than that, but I enjoyed half marathons particularly. And I realised that it wasn't really about any kind of natural ability. It was more about just training regularly and getting your body used to the rigours of endurance running. It was pretty painful and horrible at times, I guess, but I always felt better afterwards. I'd slept better. It encouraged me to give up smoking eventually. So I gave up smoking, even though I'd run for quite a while still smoking quite frequently. And eventually I started cutting back on the drink, and I was still drinking quite a bit by most people's standards probably. And I started to eat a little bit better perhaps, but it still wasn't really considered relevant in those days, so I had no idea that it was going to affect my performance. So as time went by, I joined a club, and I was in a couple of clubs actually, did some track races. I just ran lots and lots of races. So sometimes I was running like 3 or 4 races a week, believe it or not. In those days you could enter a race for like a couple of quid, so it was quite feasible to do lots of racing, and I just loved racing, just like testing myself, see if I could get faster, and I did get faster because I was well motivated. So that led to a lot of quite good times, and winning the odd fun run, build up a few trophies, and that motivates you even more, of course. So I had for like, I suppose, 6 or 7 years where I was doing that regularly, week in, week out, sometimes up to 75, 80 miles a week, twice a day. I reached a fairly good standard. It wasn't elite by any means, but just like a good club runner standard, I suppose. That's what I did. But what would I do now in hindsight? Well, it's hard to criticise what I did really, because it got me results, but it's quite a different matter at 60 odd years of age to being 25, because at 25 your body adapts to everything. You just burn up whatever you put in, basically. Food was just fuel. I never gained weight. I was always lean, I suppose. Never particularly muscular or strong, and never went to the gym or anything like that. Never tried to get stronger. I just ran because I loved running. That's a pretty good reason to run. It really relieved my stresses, and I was going through a lot of psychological difficulties at the time. And the way I got faster, actually, thinking about it, apart from doing lots of races, was doing lots of mileage and racing regularly and doing interval training in between. So I'm not recommending that to anybody these days, because I've learned that whilst that is feasible maybe for a 25-year-old to keep doing that kind of high intensity stuff, you don't know what long-term damage you're doing. You are opening yourself up to a whole can of worms regarding injuries and all kinds of other issues. But that's what worked for me then. It wouldn't work for me, or for most people probably over the age of 35, 40. But I just thought I'd share that with you, because I recognise now that even though it brought me success at the time, it's not really what we want to be preaching to people in their 40s and 50s and older, because unless you have a body that's very well adaptable to all that kind of stuff, at that age your tissues will more than likely be dehydrated and stiff and tight, and your chances of getting injured are massively high, and you can burn yourself out very easily too. It was all about motivation for me. I felt better for doing it, and therefore I did more of it, and I've got quite addictive kind of personality, so it worked for me at the time. So I just thought I'd share that with you. these days, of course, I know a lot more about different energy systems, building aerobic base, proper nutrition, proper sleep, you know, the damaging effects of alcohol and cigarettes. But your body is incredibly adaptable when you're that young. And some of you probably think you're old at 30, but there's always a lot more to come. But you just have to kind of manage things better as you get older. Okay, so if you need any help, or if you'd like to question me about any of that, then please do so. Please subscribe to the channel, like my videos, etc, etc. You can also find a lot of blogs, fitness blogs that I've written on ultrafit50plus.com. I've kind of gone more over to video lately because it's more accessible to people on the move, and also because Facebook don't seem to be allowing me to link to my WordPress blog anymore for reasons best known to themselves. So it's goodbye day for now, and I'll speak to you again soon.